for being here. My name is Mike Setzer. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of N.I.C.E, and appreciate the fact that you're giving some of your time to be with us tonight. Thank you. With me is Raul Kumar, and he's going to take over in just a minute. Raul is the Vice President in charge of Service Development for Veolia. We want to make a short little presentation to you about what we're doing and why we're doing it, and then we'll follow that up with some details from Raul on some of the service changes, and then follow that with a much more detailed opportunity for you to talk about a specific route and raise your specific questions, as well as give us your specific recommendations about the route or the trip or the idea that you most care about. There'll be plenty of information available out in the next room when we get to that point. So let me just introduce things by saying we've been running bus service in Nassau County since January 1st. That's 7 weeks. We're very pleased with the progress that has occurred so far, but recognize that there's much more to be done. I'd like to hear from you later about your perception of service quality. We think buses are cleaner than they were. We think they're closer to being on time than they were, but not satisfied with any of those things just yet. But there's a powerful focus on our part, on our whole team's part, on delivering the finest quality service we can to you. But I hope you all recognize that that's not something that changes overnight. It takes a long and sustained effort to achieve those kinds of things. Our real job, the way I always describe it, is to deliver. The Nassau County brought us in to deliver the best service that Nassau County can afford. We're constrained by the resources that are available to us. And this paragraph is from the contract between Veolia and Nassau County. And as you can see, it says by April 1st, we're to implement a route and service network constrained by the funds that are available to Nassau County from federal, state, local, and fare-box sources. So that's what we're working towards, and what we're contractually obligated to work towards. The most service for the available funds is one of the elements of what we're trying to accomplish, as well as the best service, the highest quality service with the funds that are available. So we've developed a plan for modifications to routes and schedules, which we're going to go into in some detail. It's designed to meet those budgetary goals that we were just talking about, and we will not be raising fares this year. The only people who can raise fares is Nassau County through its transit committee. And the one thing I would like you to know is that there's a lot of analysis that went into what we're proposing. Understand, what we're proposing tonight is not quite final, and there's an opportunity yet to change it. We do recognize that we may have overlooked something, or that you may have a better idea than we do, and so we want to hear those as well as answer your questions. But do understand that the recommendations that Mr. Kumar is going to talk about in a minute are based on extensive research last fall. We rode every bus, we counted ons and offs at every bus stop and recorded those. We trailed a lot of buses to watch what traffic conditions. We surveyed customers, and we had a lot of conversations with customers over that time, as well as with Long Island bus employees. And those are the original sources of the ideas that Mr. Kumar is going to talk about. We are attempting to put the service where people demonstrate that they need it by actually riding it, and in some cases away from places where it apparently doesn't serve very many people's needs because most of the seats are empty. That's kind of a basic approach to this whole process. We started out with a need to reduce the budget by over $30 million, and over $40 million. We were able to squeeze about $35 million out of operating costs without really touching service. This is through a number of steps that we've taken. For instance, we negotiated a new labor contract that gives employees a raise, a very nice raise, but at the same time gives us some opportunities to maximize the way we use employees so that we get some efficiencies out of that. We developed a number of ways where we could buy the fuel and materials that we need at a lower cost than the MTA was paying. We reduced the number of salaried people. The salaried workforce is considerably smaller than it was under the Long Island Bus. We reduced the number of people in the maintenance department because the staffing there was very inefficient. All of those things together produced about a $35 million reduction from what the MTA forecast their costs would be in 2012 if everything stayed the same. That's a great accomplishment. I'm very proud of our team that they did that, but it wasn't quite enough. There's still a little over $7 million to go in order to produce the balanced budget that we're required to by the contract with Nassau County. So we're here to talk about a number of service changes. Some of them are aimed at reducing our costs because we're required to do that. But a lot of them, I hope you will see, are also improvements that will, depending on which part of the system you use, you may directly enjoy a better kind of service than you're currently getting now. And I know reducing things is never pleasant, but the $7 million that we're forced to take from service is significantly better than the $26 million that the MTA was going to take out of service. If those of you who were at the MTA's hearing just about a year ago now, where they were going to reduce, I think it was 28 routes altogether, if you contrast that with what we're proposing to do, I think you'll see that this is a significantly less negative impact on people. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Kumar. He'll review what some of the changes are.
Thanks, Mike. Good evening. As Mike mentioned, my name is Raul Kumar, and my team and I have been on the ground for about a year now, working on the system. At first, trying to assess the system and trying to figure out just how viable of a system is it. Now, for the last really 6 weeks or so, we've been on the ground, talking to passengers, riding buses, talking with supervisors. Sorry, I'm in your way. And what we've seen is, as Mike mentioned, is there are areas of the system that need improvement. Customers are not riding. Customers don't have access to service. There are areas where there's not enough service, where customers need faster, more reliable service. And so what we've tried to do here is, with the mindset that we have a $7+ million budget deficit, we still want to make some improvements. And so what we proposed to come in on April 8th is a couple of new express routes. I think the number one question that we received from customers, at least in the last 8 weeks where we've actually had access to customer comments, is we need faster service. We need service to get us to Jamaica quickly. And so what we're proposing here is the N6X. The N6 is it's probably our best route in terms of number of people who ride it on a day-to-day basis, the amount of time that it runs, the level of service that it covers, the part of the county that it covers. And so what we're proposing is a non-stop service from Hempstead Village all the way into Jamaica, and no extra charge to customers, no additional fares. Like the MTA has express services that have an additional fare, we're not proposing that. 22X is another one from Roosevelt Field, express route, non-stop, all the way to Jamaica. The second most common comment we received was related to Mercy Medical Center. We think that Mercy Medical Center provides a very, very valuable need to the county. Some folks in here may actually use Mercy Medical Center, may be a part of some of their organizations. And so we work with them really closely to see how we can get service restored there and how we can do it within the confines of our existing budget. They were able to give us shift schedules. They were able to tell us when patients were there. They were able to tell us how they can advertise the bus service so people will become our customers and ride the new buses back to Mercy. And so we are proposing to restore service back to Mercy in April. There's also a number of improvements. The N4 that runs between Freeport and Jamaica, we're proposing right now it stops at Rockville Center and then runs a little bit less frequently between Rockville and Freeport. We're proposing to have it run every 10 minutes all the way. The new 22L that was introduced in January, we have proposed a new routing for the route that's actually faster. So the 6X, the 22X, 22L, these are all routes that at no additional cost, at savings to N.I.C.E bus, will actually provide considerable time savings for our customers. The 14 was a route that was actually originally planned for elimination by the MTA last year. Well, we looked at it, we wrote it, we talked to customers, and we found out, well, there's a reason why people aren't riding it. It doesn't serve the one purpose that it has, which is to connect customers in Almont with the train. And that's what we're doing. So you can get to and from Penn Station quickly and easily by way of the N14. Brand new service between Nassau Community College and Hempstead, non-stop service on the 16. The Jones Beach Theater had service, continues to have service, but you could get to the theater, but you couldn't get back. We were extending the service on the 88 so that you can get to the theater and get back. The last bullet here, I believe, is the most important and probably took the most work and most analysis and most interaction with customers, and that has to do with the number of routes. Anybody who rides the bus today, as Mike mentioned, has seen an improvement. We are rolling out every single bus that we're supposed to. Now, some of these buses do break down in the middle of the day. Some of these buses, due to traffic, things that are completely out of our control, do get bogged down. That results in buses coming, multiple buses at a time. That results in people missing their connections. That results in people not making transfers. And so what we've put here is actually additional service on a number of these routes. So you can actually make connections. You can actually have improved transfers. In some cases, you may have later service, earlier service, and things like that. So this is just one bullet. It seems like a very minor thing, but I think the overarching impact on the rest of the system will be pretty significant. Now, as again, we talked about our $7 million budget deficit. There are adjustments that need to be made, and we have to base our adjustments on the market. Where are people riding? Why are they riding? Why aren't they riding? And so we've got to really take a balanced look at how we can provide the most service we possibly can within the confines of the budget. So the adjustments that we proposed here really have to do with the number of buses that are coming per hour, or how frequently the buses are coming. It also has to do very much with what time of the day buses or customers are currently riding, or in this case, not riding. It also has to do a lot with which roads do some of these buses ride on. These changes, the system has not really been changed in 20 plus years. And I think we've all seen lots of growth, lots of change, lots of traffic, lots of differences in the system, but the schedules haven't really reflected that, or the bus routes haven't really reflected that. So what we're proposing here actually modernizes some of that. This is a brief review of some of the schedule changes. We have detailed information in the room next door, and in fact what we're going to do as soon as I'm done here, we'll just have a few more slides, is go through these in detail with you. So if you have specific questions on the routes you take, on where you board, you can actually ask any of us. We have a number of N.I.C.E. bus staff members here who can answer the detailed questions of where are you getting on, where are you going, how is this going to impact you. We also have maps and all sorts of collateral there that can help. Just as a quick overview, some of the changes here, I already mentioned the 14 during rush hour. That's one route where we're timing the buses to come with the trains. Yes, it is actually a little bit less service, but the reality of the fact is we think we're going to get quite a bit more passengers because it's actually going to do what it's supposed to do. Middle of the day, the N6, the change here is really, bus comes every 10 minutes now, it's going to come every 12 minutes. So it's not as if customers are waiting an extra 2 minutes, it's more that they look at the schedule and instead of bus coming at 10:10, it's now coming at 10:12. Again, I'm not trying to minimize these proposals, but it's more, it's so much different than just a route cut altogether. Saturdays in some portions of the county just aren't used. It could be because businesses are now closed or residents have moved, where the services made sense a few years ago. They just don't make sense to operate anymore. I started to talk a little bit about the reconfigurations of routes, and we feel that this is pretty important, again, to modernize the route system, to modernize where routes are going, to really reflect the new businesses that may have popped up in the last few years, to really reflect where maybe there are more people living. So what we have put on our website is detailed videos of every single one of the route configurations. I think there's 7 total. We have maps in the next room over. We have people to answer your questions. And I'm going to just cover a few of them very quickly. 2 and the 8. These are 2 routes that were scheduled for elimination last year. Again, that's not good enough for us. We looked at them, looked at the routing, said, what's the best way we can continue to operate these routes? So we've deviated the service from one of the routes to combine the two. So you have now a combined 2 and the 8. But what does this mean? Yes, it means that there are if you're living on one portion of the route, you have to walk to another portion of the route. But for 90% of the route, it doesn't really change, except if you're going to the Valley Stream Railroad Station. In that case, you actually have additional service, especially late night. The 2327, these are 2 parallel routes that run kind of really down the heart of our system, Fort Washington, Glen Cove area, all the way down. This is a change that only happens in the middle of the day when less customers are riding. There are route deviations. We have provided ample transfers. We have timed transfers so that when buses are supposed to come, you're supposed to make your connections, you will make your connections. You might have to wait a minute, you might have to wait a couple minutes, but you're not going to miss your transfer. So we have really thought about what direction folks are going in and where they can make their transfers. Now, what does this mean? Yes, it means that there's going to be a little bit less service in the middle of the day, but it also means if you're going to 60 Charles Lindbergh Social Security Office, any of the businesses around that area, you can get there from Fort Washington, Glen Cove. The 247879 on the Hicksville area, 7879. Before, if you're on Old Country Road, you have to make a couple of transfers to get down to Jamaica. Now, with the extension of the 24, you can actually do it in one bus, no transfers, no additional fares. You can actually get to the subway without paying any additional money. All of these changes, again, detailed on our website, detailed in maps in the next room over. They do represent fewer operating hours, but what it means is that it's really tailor-made to when people are riding. I'm going to turn it over to Mike to wrap it up and see how you can come.
Okay. Yeah, thanks very much for your attention. We'll get to the details of one-on-one conversation in just a minute. We've put a lot of care into designing this set of changes. We still want to hear from you, though. We want to make sure that they're as good as they can possibly be. We tried to use the funds available to us in a way that has the least negative impact and the most positive impact on our riders, and we hope we're very close to that. So we still need to hear from you. There are a lot of ways that you can comment or learn more about what we're doing here, and they're on the screen here. Of course, you can talk to us tonight. That's what I think most of you are going to do. You can also get us through our website, which is nicebus.com. There's a contact section on there. Click on that, and you can leave us a comment or a question, and we will respond. Or you can write us, or you can call us. Or there's a comment. There's some comment cards out here also. If you don't have time to stick around or just want to make sure it's in writing, fill out a comment card and leave it with us. So with that, thank you very much. We'll meet you in the next room.